Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Rambling Through Everyday Life. My name is Fran and I am one of the co-hosts of this podcast. Okay guys, it's time to turn the corner. Angela and I are going to start a new series with you guys that is titled Better Together. We believe without a doubt, and I think you do too, that we could all stand to be a little bit better together, stronger together, making a difference together, working in the same direction together. What if we took all of this togetherness and actually did the thing? This concept became a reality. I love the hashtag Better Together, but y'all, we are so much more than a hashtag. Okay, so this episode is going to be just between Angela and myself, a conversation to kind of set the stage a little bit. And then next week's episode is one of our all-time favorite authors and friends, and you guys are in for the biggest treat of your life. We love you guys so much. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a friend to us. Just have a great week. Enjoy the show and be better together. All right, Angela, we are diving into the next several weeks under the umbrella of We Are Better Together. And listen, this is a topic, a theme, a subject, a conversation that you and I have had probably more times than we could count. And we absolutely love talking about intergenerational relationships, the importance of them. We need one another. We are better together, right? Aren't we?
We absolutely are. And we've talked a lot about just the awareness of it and recognizing that we need people absolutely in our age and stage of life. But what value and what a treasure does it become when you have friends that are older than you and friends that are younger? We are both, I'm in my 40s. You're close to that. And we have college friends.
Yeah.
And it's so fun to say, I have college friends. They like me. They need me. We like each other. We hang out. But there's so much value in addition to the fact that it's good for our egos and we feel cool.
They keep us cool.
They keep us cool. There's so much value. And that's so fun and important for us to talk about because until my 40s, I don't think I even recognized that was a thing that I needed and that I should be intentionally seeking. I don't think if I had friends older or younger, I don't think I recognized that.
Well, let me tell you, sister, when I was younger, even probably into my late 30s and pushing 40, I was prideful in all that I knew.
Yeah.
And I do not need anybody younger or older. And so, good night. That's terrible. But I can see where that would be a thing where you would think, oh my gosh, what could I possibly learn from somebody older? And anybody younger is annoying and they should know better.
And I'm saying, not because I'm agreeing that you are, but because I was too. And, we get so full of ourselves and then we wake up and come out of that. And I think we mistakenly believe that the people younger than us feel the same way that we did and just don't need us. And that could not be further from the truth.
Well, listen, we are better together. One of the things that we have learned over the years, and probably what started this conversation, was a book called Giddy Up Eunice.
What a funny name.
Isn't that so fun? I love this book, and we will, not today, but we will bring this book up soon after this podcast. But we learned a lot about the importance of intergenerational relationships. And there are a few things in this book that I just want to highlight really quickly to kind of just give us a little bit of a foundation and remind us of some things that we probably know or need to be reminded of. All right. Everybody means everybody, okay? Everybody, no matter the age, craves a safe place with safe people. And how often we can find comfort and encouragement from someone in similar circumstances, even if we don't belong to the same demographic. And I think that that's where we stick to our people, we stick to our age, we stick to that same demographic. And that's just, I think, a natural human tendency. But we are going to, over the next few weeks, challenge our listeners, challenge one another remind each other of the importance and the honest to goodness necessity of having those people around us of different ages, different lifestyles. It is so crucially important. And I remember learning for the very first time, not for the very first time, but really getting my mind wrapped around Mary and Elizabeth's relationship out of Luke chapter 2, when Jesus is in his mother's womb and Mary hightails it miles and miles and miles and miles and miles. Probably, I think if I'm remembering correctly, please do not quote me on this, but approximately 2.5 days or so worth of travel to see her cousin Elizabeth, who is also miraculously pregnant.
Can you imagine? Just imagine that. You've got young Mary pregnant.
Teenage Mary.
Yeah. And older Elizabeth
Yes.
pregnant.
Yes.
I wonder how old she was.
Older. 50, I think I read somewhere, many years, just many years. She wasn't supposed to be pregnant. She was past her childbearing years. And Mary hightails it because she has got this older person in her life that she wants to share this miraculous news to.
They're best friends.
They're best friends. And the fact that there's so much age difference there. And Mary wanted to spend days traveling to see her, to tell her, like, who is that person in your life that you would do that for? Not side-by-side life, but somebody that is older than you that you want to go tell the good news to.
That's so fun.
It's precious. And I absolutely love Mary and Elizabeth. She had a person. Mary had a person. Elizabeth, flip it around. Elizabeth had a person.
And there's something that happened leading up to that story that bonded them. They cultivated that at some point.
That's right. It didn't just happen. So anyway, okay, let's talk about this. Let's go. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go. Okay, so better together implies community. We've talked about this quite a bit, but we were made in the image of community, the Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Why do we need community? Why do we need to be encouraged? Why build these relationships? We've got to stay focused that we're in it for the long game, and we're on mission to know God, to make him known. And the heart of the gospel is people, and we need people, and we need these relationships, and that's what makes us grow toward the Lord together.
Right.
And it's so rich when you have perspective, not just within your demographic, but you have the wisdom of the older people. You have the wisdom of the younger.
Right.
I have learned so much from these college friends. It blows my mind. They have so much fresh insight and perspective, and just some of their relationships with the Lord they just make me want to be better.
Yeah, they have something to teach us.
Yes.
And so maybe the greater question that everyone needs to ask of themselves is, how do I feel about these intergenerational relationships?
Yep.
And why don't I have any?
And am I too proud to believe that
That's
somebody
right.
younger than me has anything of benefit to add? Am I so busy looking past them, talking over them, writing them off because I'm older? And
Listen, I believe this. I can say this about myself. I can't say this 100% about you. But the reason why I'm so passionate about the generation younger, those in high school, college, young adults, and I'm not saying I have a whole lot to offer, but I did not have a me when I was that age.
yeah,
I didn't
either.
have it. And I'm telling you, every young girl, whether they will admit it or not, they are craving somebody older to pour into them, and not it doesn't even have to be hours and hours, but just nuggets of information, advice, help, prayer, love
Yeah.
me, guide me, teach me.
That takes me back to a memory my freshman year in the dorm, and I can remember because I like you, I love these college girls and have a Bible study with a group of them and just can't get enough of our time together. And it's because this memory that just popped into my head in the freshman dorm. I can remember the girls across the hall were playing Christian music, and I'd grown up in church, but I just felt like I wanted what they had, but I also just felt kind of numb and dead inside. Like, well, I want that, and I know I should want that, but I don't know how to get there. So what's the point? Like,
Right.
that sounds so dark.
Right.
But I just got into that place, and I really believe if I had had anybody reaching out to me, I would have reached back. But I didn't have that in that season, and I so wish that I did.
Yeah. Well, and it does all go back to the local church
Yeah.
that is a wonderful connecting point,
Yes.
because if you are in that situation where you just you don't have anybody, you don't know who to go to, but at least within the local church, you have a place to go and learn from. Ladies, get yourself plugged into a Bible study. Whatever it
Yes.
is they offer, please, for the love of all things.
Yes.
You either need to be teaching, leading, saying, hey, I would like to just offer prayer up for high school and college students. How can I do that? How can I do that? How can I be a part of? And listen, we cannot be afraid. We can't be too proud to say, I need a person.
Yeah. And we have more in common than we realize. You know, age is an obstacle in our minds, but when you just get past that mentality, we have so much in common. And one of the quotes I love, and I think this came from Sophie Hudson's book, was a C.S. Lewis quote that she referenced on how friendships begin. And it's when you look at each other and you say, what, you too? I thought I was the only one.
Yeah.
And think about all the things we have in common that just transcends time and age. And we all really just are looking for someone to listen, a safe place to process. You know, she says in her book, when safe places become sacred spaces when the Holy Spirit connects us.
That's
and
right.
we're all just desperate, younger women, older women. We want to walk through sacred spaces together.
Yeah.
We want to be seen. We want to be valued. We want somebody to listen to us. And we're not always sure how to connect, but underneath it all, we need each other.
We
So
were made for it.
we were made for it.
Yeah.
Okay, Fran, so how do we get there? We've got this desire. How do we make it happen?
Yeah. Well, and again, I think that if you have the local church, that is a real easy, it's an easy place to start. If you are not plugged in to a local church, then I think you look at those people around you, look to those above you, look to those that are younger than you. And if you're needing somebody that's older, identify that person and just simply reach out to them. I don't think it's necessarily like, hey, I'm looking for a mentor. It's just, hey, can we just get together every blue moon, every now and then, and begin to have these conversations where I just need some guidance.
Yeah.
And then you can do the same thing. You can be that person that is looking to the younger and say, hey, high school students, college students, whether, your local church is a great place to start, or just find some way to connect. Maybe there's another person that can help you be a connector, because you're really good at that. You are really good at connecting people to people.
I love that. And I didn't even know that was a spiritual thing.
It is. It's a great thing. And you just begin to ask the Lord to, help me figure out how to use my gifts. And it could be something that where you're like, okay, I don't know. I don't have anybody. I don't know who to ask. But you start using your social media platform and you say, okay, I'm going to make sure that I write a post every week that is geared towards this generation, and maybe it can be a way for you to pour into them and encourage them.
You know what we're going to do in our social media this week?
What are we going to do?
We're going to give away a Starbucks card to somebody that tags an older or a younger person that they would take to coffee.
Yes, go do that.
Wouldn't that be fun? And if you're like me and you don't like coffee, just have a tea or a chocolate milk.
That's right. Chocolate milk. That's awesome. I'll take a water, please. I'm sorry, what? I don't even
They
understand.
have chocolate milk at Starbucks.
I don't understand.
And Sophie in her book describes it as a square dance.
Yeah.
And when you said that reminded me, because, you can't have 32 best friends at one time, but you can have a little bit of time with one and then pass them off to the other. And, you all just kind of go through life together.
Listen, Angela, we've said so many times, but it's the honest truth. You have to fight for this.
Yes.
Because in this COVID world,
We're all busy.
everybody's busy. Everybody's afraid. Everybody's busy. There is a way to continue to move down this road in a healthy, responsible way.
That's
There
right.
is. But you've said, and I'm not going to quote you because I'm not going to say it right, so you can fill in and tell me what I'm supposed to say, but You know, the devil wants nothing more than for us to be isolated.
That's right. If he can isolate you, he will influence you.
See, and if we just continue to, kind of just be drawn into our separate corners on our couch, on our phones, away from real live people.
Yes.
Ministry is meant to be life-giving, where you are grabbing a hold of each other's hands, and you know by looking at a person's face what kind of state they're in.
Yeah.
Not words on a phone through text, but doing real live ministry, one-on-one, small groups. That is where lives are changed.
That's right. Amen. Well, and don't you love, because, I mean, we've been very honest about all the things we wish we'd done different as we were younger, that the older that I become, like getting older is redemptive, I think is how Sophie words it. We want to spare our younger friends our mistakes.
Oh, gosh, yes.
And we can learn from older ones.
Let me tell you a thing or two.
Let me tell you what never to do.
Please, for the love. You are not, younger girls, you are not going to scare us.
No. Oh, goodness, no.
Yeah.
We are judgment free.
Yeah.
You cannot shock us or scare us. We have had our rough edges knocked off.
Yes.
Bring it on, whatever it is. And I love, Titus 2, verses 3-5 says, "This is our prayer, that we would teach the older women to be reverent in the way they live, not to be slanderers or addicted to much wine, but to teach what is good. Then they can train the younger women to love their husbands and children, to be self-controlled and pure, to be busy at home, to be kind and subject to their husbands, so that no one will malign the word of God."
Yeah.
It starts and stops with the word of God, but we have to be excellent as we learn and grow and become the older women to teach the younger women, but we're also learning from them. It is a beautiful thing.
Right. Well, and married or not, married or not.
Absolutely.
It is just, again, I wish that I would have had somebody older in my life that was a safe place
Yes.
to say what needed to be said, and that they were going to love me anyway. And at 50, I still need that.
Absolutely. I love, Arlena, we've talked about the text that Arlena sends us in the mornings. She's, I hate to even say she's older. She's not that much older, but she's wiser. She's very spiritually mature, and she takes the time to invest in us in a way that nobody else has.
Right.
That I know of.
Well, and you
And
can't.
it's a text.
Yeah, it's just a text every day. She's so kind to do that. It's a great place to start.
We can all do that.
Yes, somebody listening, just start with a text.
It's changed our lives.
It has. And just to know that she's there every day.
Rock solid, steady, praying for us the way it's motherly. And that's how it started. I asked her, I said, I don't have a mother on this earth. Will you just pray for me? And she has faithfully done that this whole time.
It's
Changed
just,
our lives.
Yeah, it's just gorgeous.
Yeah.
There's something to be said when you are getting older, and I'm going to say this too. I believe this with all of my heart. If you are college age young adult listening to this, guess what? You're older. You're older than somebody.
Yep.
And so everybody's older. Everybody's going to find themselves in all the categories. Okay, so don't limit yourself to think, well, I'm in this category. No. To these precious 20-year-olds that I love with all of my heart, guess what? You're older, and people younger than you are watching and learning from you all the time.
Don't you remember being 12 years old and thinking the 16-year-old girl that you knew was an absolute rock star?
Yeah.
I'm still in touch with mine on Facebook. She's still my hero. I saw Michael Jackson Thriller for the first time in her bedroom. She put blue eyeshadow on my little face. I thought she walked on water.
That's awesome.
Well, let's talk for just a minute about what we love learning from our younger friends,
Yes.
so that anybody, our age, quote, older, we're not going to call us old.
Yeah.
But I had missed, because I believed the lie that, I was too old or not relevant, whatever. I don't know what I believed, or if it was really a specific lie, but I just did not have reason to connect with anybody in college or that age bracket. So let's talk for just a minute about what we love and benefit from by having younger friends.
Listen, I'm going to tell y'all a funny story.
Tell
I'm
us.
telling on myself.
Tell us.
I'm telling on myself. Okay, so I work at Union University. I have a lot of students that work for me, and so they are in and out of my day literally every day.
That's the best.
And so one time, I think this was this year, one of the students was working our front desk, and she was telling a story, and she said something like, oh, we've got to get the tea. And I was like, wait, are y'all going to go get some iced tea? Because if y'all are going to go get some tea, I would love some.
It's that loaded tea.
And then they started dying laughing. And I was like, wait, what? What are y'all talking about? And she said, the scoop. We're going to have to get the tea. What does that even stand for, Angela?
Spill the tea.
Spill the tea.
It's the gossip.
It's the gossip.
Look, I have Kaylee. Kaylee keeps me cool. She keeps me in check.
Well, my brain just immediately thought to literal tea.
Well, that's what I would think otherwise.
Yeah. So, how quickly I learned. And so now that I see it everywhere and I hear it, I'm like, I'm sure I sounded 112 that day.
I love it.
But they not only do they keep us in like the fun, cool lingo and all that stuff, which is just precious. You do love it because you go right back in time and can remember when you were that age. But they keep us informed, but they are also in the same breath so wise and so grounded and authentic, and they'll just tell you. They'll just tell you the truth. And I love that. You can honestly ask them, hey, will you just be honest with me? What do you think about this? And they're happy to tell you. They're just going to tell you the truth.
Yeah. Well,
Spill the tea, Angela.
Spill the tea. So last week, I acted like a 13-year-old.
Love
all
it.
week long.
Love it.
And there was so much value for me in pretending to be 13 again that I did not even realize. I took Cole on a trip because I needed some time just with him. And I took personal development books. I took some work stuff. I took all these things that I never even touched. Thank goodness. Because what my soul needed, I don't know about my body. We put in a lot of steps every day. But what I needed was just to run around like a 13-year-old. I didn't worry about makeup. I didn't worry about anything but having the time of my life with my kid.
Yeah.
And 13 is just one of those ages that if you're listening and you feel overwhelmed or bogged down, like try to remember who you were at 13 years old.
Go have some fun. Go be silly.
Some fun. Turn your brain off. And
for real. Seriously,
back.
don't be an adult. Stop being an adult for just a minute.
We had jelly beans for supper one night, and then we had ice cream. I mean, we were wild. We were scandalous. But at the end of that week, I just had tears in my eyes thanking God for what a gift it was because I have had a hard year. We all have. Yeah. And it was such a treasure. And not all of us can take a week off work, but you can spend a few hours.
Listen, for dinner, go have the ice cream.
Go have an ice cream sundae for dinner.
Yes, and turn the music up and listen to Taylor Swift and just have the time of your life.
Have a crazy dance party. Get your kids and just go act crazy. Whatever that looks like.
But the younger generation reminds us the importance. Like you could be annoyed, like, oh my God, quit making all those videos or quit doing all that stuff on Snapchat or get off TikTok or whatever. But they remind us of the joy and the necessity of being just youthful and fun and silly.
That's right. Go be silly. I tell you what, do a TikTok dance and see if you're not laughing until you hurt at the end of it. It's kind of like Pinterest, what I think I look like, what I actually look like.
Pinterest is for old people.
Pinterest, yes. I'm showing my age. I'm the older woman. But just being carefree and adventurous and silly and fun. And I remembered parts of myself that had been buried and forgotten in ways that were just so much fun.
Okay, let's talk about, because in that same context of last week when you were away, let's also talk about the younger generation. There are plenty of people. You had a conversation. You can unpack this as much as or as little as you want to, but there are some younger that have or even older that have never thought about, oh, I need that.
Yep.
And I've never pursued it. I've never thought about it because we live in these little bubbles running with the same demographic all the time.
So the investigative reporter in me,
the attorney, called an attorney.
The attorney in me, in the midst of this vacation fun time, sat down with my 24-year-old sister, and I said, okay, I need to ask you some questions. And she looked at me like she was in trouble. But I said, okay, I want you to think about intergenerational friendships. And do you have friends that are older than you? Do you have friends that are younger than you? And she just kind of looked at me, and she said, my friends are just the people that I work with. She's a teacher, the people I teach school with, the people I go to kickboxing with. And it's just, and I said, why do you think that is? And she said, I think we're just going through life, and that's just naturally what's happening. And we did think about, I said, well, think about if the last time you had a friend that way and what value they added. And she was like, that this is not something that I've even pondered, but I want to. And it makes me aware that I need that in my life. And then I asked Kaylee, who's 18, and I said, hey, same thing. What kind of value do you think it would add? Because she named somebody that's in college or that just graduated. And it took her a little while to think about it. And she said, well, this person comes to mind. And I said, well, what value does that person add because they're a stage ahead? And she said, well, they're unbiased and they won't judge me and they're outside my circle. Mm. So I think that she immediately recognized, we naturally gravitate to people in our circle, but there's something so precious about having a safe person outside that circle to just listen and give that perspective. And then I said, Kaylee, what holds you back? Why do you think we're not seeking that out if that's so valuable? And she said, well, it's just kind of weird. It's not natural. It takes more effort. It's harder. And then she said, I don't even know how I would do that. I'm in college. I'm surrounded by people my age. What's this going to look like? But the more we talked about it, we talked about the church that she's attending now and different ways that she's exposed to people that are older and younger. And she's volunteering now with Young Life, which is younger. And she's got people at church that are older. But I think you just have to really think about it.
You're right.
And then be aware of where these people are. And like you said, the church is such a tremendous place to start.
Yeah.
And just live that way through it. But I've talked to several other people, between their ages of 18 and 24. And I've not met anybody yet that we've talked to that said, oh, yeah, I've got all these friendships, older and younger. But they all ended it by saying, you know what, that's really interesting. And I really do see the value in that and want to pursue that.
Right.
And I said, good, listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about this all month long.
Yeah. Well, and it's, I think that going back to Elizabeth and Mary, that Elizabeth was so for Mary. Mm-hmm. Being that older woman, she was for her. And I love just that simple example of they were so similar in a lot of ways, their circumstances, their situation, but their age had them so different. But Elizabeth was for Mary. And so it just, we should rest in that and feel comfortable and trust what the Lord has set up and designed for us and not be afraid of it.
That's so good. And I think just the pattern I've seen with the volleyball girls that I have Bible study with is when I recognize that they are hurting, we all carry pain in some way. When I recognize they're hurting, when I'm able to speak into that bonds us so fast and they so quickly run back to me. It really just is a matter of noticing or asking, hey, how are you doing? What's hard in your life right now?
Right.
And
let's go back to those good questions.
Give them a safe place.
Yeah.
So, Fran, what kind of questions can we ask? If there's an older woman that says, okay, I know a younger woman, or a younger woman that thinks of somebody older, and they do meet for coffee, how can they kick this thing off? What does that look like?
Well, I've referenced these two questions before, but I think they're so good. And they're simple. They're not super spiritual by any means. I think the first question, start off with something easy, would be, what is the greatest thing about being you right now?
That's so good.
And then the second question, what's the hardest thing about being you right now? Because it requires an answer. It requires an answer, and it gives you insight into what they're thinking, how they're feeling, what's good, what's bad. And it just allows you to speak your wisdom and your experience, because that's the beauty of age. The beauty of age is experience. And you get to pour into them, and you get to offer them some truth and some hope and some encouragement. Two simple questions.
And you know what I love about that is when I do ask those questions, they just kind of pause and then really light up, because everybody is moving so quickly around them. I don't think they're in a position to have that conversation often, if at all.
Right. Well, it's always just, hey, how are you?
And fine. I'm fine. We should eliminate that word from our vocabulary.
We've talked about that before.
We sure have.
It should not be allowed, but I think that's just a great starting place.
I think so.
Yeah.
It was funny. I I asked Cole, now this is 13-year-old boy answer, but I said, Cole, what's the best part of being you right now? And he said, I'm an only child.
Listen, there's nothing wrong with that. He's
And
like
I
going,
said,
mm-hmm.
I said, Cole, what's the hardest part? And he said, you still talk about Kaylee all the time. So bless his heart.
Well, okay, this is fun. I think this episode is setting the stage for the next several weeks on the importance of not just relationships that have always looked the exact same, side by side. Me and you, similar ages. We're both married. We both have kids. You're both in college. You're both this. You're both that. Whatever. We are now laying a good foundation for causing us to think about, who am I learning from, having conversation with, that's in front of me and behind me. Everybody needs to be considering who those people are, why we don't have them. And then I think it goes back to an awareness that if we at least are thinking about it, then I believe you're going to begin to see people and situations and opportunities that you wouldn't have seen before. And you go, oh, looky there. I now maybe have a person.
So good. So y'all be thinking of who your older person is or your younger person and be ready to tag them on social media. You might win the Starbucks card.
This is my favorite. Okay, this is so great, y'all. This is going to be a good series, Better Together. Angela, everybody is better together.
We sure are. And y'all, next week, get ready. Big
Here.
fun surprise.
Big fun surprises. Here we go. Y'all have a great day. Thanks so much for listening. We love you guys.